Alrighty. Let's bring the tunes down. Alright. Alright. Hello, everybody. Hello. Ghostly. Kids are asleep, getting coffee. I just got a giant thing of tea, so I definitely need the caffeine today. I had to go be social yesterday. I had to do a big socializing, and it made me very sleepy, and I ended up sleeping for like 10 hours. Hi, friend. Is my favorite screenwriter. Aw, thank you, Ghostly. But it sounds like you're going through it, Ghostly. I don't know. The way you describe the week leading up to your opening, that sounds like you're right on track. Like, that sounds like the week before any show I've ever been in. People don't know their lines. The stage is not done. Poison Dart, welcome in. Welcome. And the hair. Yeah, you're probably gonna wind up doing the hair and all that stuff like last. That's probably gonna be like a Wednesday or a Thursday thing. No one's gonna be caring about that until the rest of everything's not on fire. Ghostly spent all day painting a grand staircase. Oh, nice! And it's the most sexy staircase the world has ever seen. Oh, I'm doing well. How are you, Poison Dart? I'm good. I'm a little slow today. I had to go do a social on Friday, and I had a bunch of meetings on Friday. That all these meetings are longer than I thought they were going to be, and it's put me way behind on like everything I need to get done before I fly to Baltimore on Tuesday. So I'm just very behind. And then I had to go do this social thing, which is nice. Like, you know, I love all the people I got to go see, but for whatever reason, that stuff zonks me. And I overslept this morning, so I am once again behind. And just like still trying to reboot my brain, and the amount of caffeine in coffee and tea should be doing the trick, but it is not working. A Ghostly, that makes me feel like are you an engineer? That feels like a statement an engineer would make, is I have designed the shit out of a staircase, and it is the most sexy staircase. Okay, you wanted to stain it. Oh, I got it. But it was out of the budget, so we just painted it, and Ghostly took point drawing on her Bob Ross skills and dry brushing the delicious textures. Well done, Ghostly. I'm slightly dying in pain. Oh, no! Oh, you had surgery 2 days ago, and I was not prepared for the recovery time. Oh, and my cats don't seem to get that either. That is the worst. Anytime I've been sick or recovering, the cats do not care. Your responsibilities to them are apparently still you're still in full. Like, they do not care what kind of pain you're in. But I'm sorry that you're still in pain and dealing with the recovery. But I hope the surgery went well. And I hope that all that pain and everything subsides soon, so you get to feeling better. But I know that can be time consuming, depending on how invasive the surgery was too. It can be. I know it can last a while. That's Ghostly. You're writing a fan fiction about a staircase. That staircase had me salivating. I made everyone in the building look at it and tell me it was. Ghostly, this is getting fetishistic. You're just like, no, look at it and tell me. Look at her, or not even like. You've probably never seen Manhunter. It might be too much for you, Ghostly, but you're reminding me of the Red Dragon serial killer in that, where he just keeps showing people like the images of his greatness, and he's just like, do you see? This is I think actually South Park made fun of that. This is me at the Grand Canyon. Do you see? Yeah. I'm imagining, that's what I'm imagining you're doing, Ghostly. It's a piece of art. Eat your heart out, Pablo. I at this point, Ghostly, I feel like at some point you should take a picture of it and drop it in the Discord, because now I need to feel like I need to see the staircase. I need to see the staircase. Feel free to do a close-up shot of the texture that you managed to put on the staircase. Someone's gonna ask, where did the budget for the show go? And everyone's gonna be like, I don't know, it went to the staircase. Everybody everybody was really into the staircase. It's a piece of art. We'll see. I haven't gotten a lot of writing done. Yeah, don't push yourself. Particularly if you're just getting over a surgery, poison dart. Do not push yourself. There is part of writing is also just being bored and relaxing and having time. So, if anything, think of it as actually part of your writing process to just not write and sit and let your mind wander. Those are important parts. And it's good times to do that when you are like recovering or, not feeling well. It's important. It is an important part of the process. Don't threaten me with pride. Ghostly was really into the staircase that much. Yeah, it's clear, Ghostly. It's very clear that you are into the staircase. Why do you want the redeem? Just do it at the end, because I don't actually like approve it till the end anyway. Yeah, it's fine. And it's not like I think you don't have the points. It's fine. I trust you. If someone new came in here and started throwing around, I'd probably have to take it up front, but you've earned goodwill. You've earned the goodwill, and you're wealthy, so wealthy people get treated special. I have so much money. So many tort coins. Don't you? Okay. But go ahead and drop that, or message me that on Discord, so I can bring it up, and we'll start that. So the first sprint will be reading Ghostly's thing. It might go into the second sprint a little bit, and then the rest of it I'm gonna have to get work done, because I am very behind, and I need to get work done. Why, lad? Don't do that to me. Don't do what? Don't do what? Where are we at? Okay. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Okay. Oh, that's okay. All right, I got Discord open. Don't put me in a box with the fat cats. I don't know, Ghostly. You're starting to act. I've noticed the more toad coins, more toad coins you get, the more you're throwing your weight around a lot more. You're kind of starting. Maybe you're starting to act like a little bit of a fat cat, a little bit of a Wall Street, a Wall Street person. Why did the news just pop up? Okay, sure. Okay. Low-key has been boring, so boring, though, being stuck in bed all day because it's not even comfortable. That is the thing. I remember when my dad had surgery that was actually, that being stuck in bed and the pain from being stuck in bed was more painful than the actual, like, healing of the areas. I'll have you know, Cryptid gave me my power. That is true. Cryptid has given you the power. Although I think I still have most of the power on stream. I still get to act with impunity. Actually, that might not be true. I think I actually at one point did give Opresoria the ability to end stream. I do think I gave Opresoria the ability to end stream. I think I did that just in case I ever streamed drunk. And I started rambling that I gave Opresoria the ability to just nuke the stream, which is very funny. Ghostly, do you though? Yeah, I'm already starting to question it. I'm already starting to question if I actually do indeed have any power. I don't think I do. I'm starting to think that I'm just a puppet. All right. Oh, I got it. Okay. Do, 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 do. I do call my... I am a Muppet. Yep. I am indeed a Muppet. Alright. Oh, God, it's so bright. So bright. Why do you do this, Microsoft? Oh. Not command control. Yeah, right? Like, why not dark mode? Is there a dark mode on this? This is a WordPad. This is how we're started. Stream starts with Wildlight trying to figure out how to make dark mode on WordPad. I like how it also tells me that it does not support. Is there like a thing? Restore. $10 and $11. It should be okay. Yeah, it's not Word, so it's not. I never use this. So let's bring the music down just a little bit more. View. I mean, Windows has a dark mode. I know that. I just don't know if WordPad does. No, this might just be WordPad, Ghostly. What? Windows security. I do not need Windows security. I just... Go away. Go away. Go away. I know, it is very bright. I mean, technically, I can lower my screen brightness, but... Oh, it does? Well... It changes the font, and that makes me sad. Oh, yeah. What, did you write it in Word? Okay, yeah, you did write it in Word. Okay. If I was on my Mac, if I was on the Apple partition, I could open it with Pages, and it would probably preserve some of everything. Yeah, it is very gross. What's your font? What font did you have, Ghostly? Oh yeah, the way it does it's abusive. I want to leave, but I know of nothing else. Oh, you're married to Word. Yeah. Oh well. Well. I wonder also why is the font size 14? Good lord. Oh, really? It says Perpetua. It actually says that this is the Perpetua font. That's interesting. I think it just changed the size. Okay. Lies! Yeah, I wouldn't trust anything WordPad told me, to be honest, but... okay, what chapter were we on, Ghostly? Before we get started. Okay, we're on 10. Okay, a double-edged sword, okay. Alright. Okay, cool. Okay, and then sobriety. Okay. Alright, cool. Where are we at here? Okay. Alright. So why don't we just dive right into it now? We'll get it. We're gonna run ads really quick. I forgot about the ads. I'm gonna run the ads. Yeah, that's right. You left with the kids leaving Buttercup's house. Yep, I remember that. That's right. With the little time jump back and forth. Okay, we're going to run ads really quick. So we're going to be back in about 3 minutes. I tend to run ads in like a bulk so they don't interrupt us when we're doing writing sprints. So for the meantime, feel free to just step away, make some tea. We'll be back in 3 minutes where we're going to do, where we're going to go ahead and read Ghostly's story. We're going to continue on, and we're going to do it for the first sprint and see how far we get, and maybe do it for part of the second sprint. And then after that, we'll go back to just doing writing. So, all right, we'll see you all back in 3 minutes. Here we go. New command. Yeah, Opera Soria added that command, which makes a lot of sense because then it, like, you know, it's nice. I don't have to explain it a million times. Yep. It's actually, it's not even just like the auto ad thing. I hate pre-roll ads. Like, it makes me crazy. Yep. Yep. How many quotes are we up to right now? Do we add a fifth one? I don't know. Is it 4? Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, that's maybe it is 4. Yeah. No, I'm messing up the command. Oh, there we go. No, we actually might be up to 5. I think Opera Soria added a 5th one. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's my least favorite. That is my least favorite quote. That one is truthfully out of context, and I despise it. Twilight, his head getting too big. Yeah. The toxic relationship. Yeah, that one is the best one. It's like the perfect. That is kind of the perfect out of context quote. All right. I have my water. All right. I'm gonna stock up. I want that on it. I love toxic relationships. It'd be a good, like, I feel like it'd be a good, like, romance book talk shirt for sure. Not that I'm particularly familiar with that. I'm just vaguely aware of it in passing. All right, I'm going to grab water, and then we will get started once the ads come back. Wait, whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. Why, like, going for the book talk girlies? What? What? I feel like I did not realize. Actually, you know what? Given the way that sometimes those things go, that actually would be like inciting of a conversation piece for book talk. Oof. Although, but there's nothing new about book talk, to be honest. As like a weird history, I vividly remember the vitriol that people threw at Stephanie Meyer during the Twilight years. It feels very similar, where it's like, yeah, there's problematic, critiquey, cringy, weird shit in these romance books, but there's nothing new about it. It's been around a long time, and like people like what they like. There's no shame in that. I mean, so you definitely should be able to critique these things, particularly the ones. I mean, the really bad ones. But oh, ooh, hold on. Come on, let me do that. No, you stupid thing. There we go. It kept making me like click. It made me click on you, Ghostly, and I was like, I do not want to ban Ghostly. That's the worst. No, Do not ban Ghostly. Was recommended a book talk book, and oh boy, was she rough, but it was like eating a whole package of words. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. That is the whole point, Ghostly. It's like, there's no shame in people liking, depending on it's just, people like their stuff. Like, it can be smutty, it can be just romantic and cringy, it can be, it can be all those things. Like, there's no shame in it. The biggest thing that I regret being younger was jumping in on the like it's fine to critique and make fun of Twilight, and I definitely was like, but I hit that hard. And I do regret that a little bit. I think that was definitely a part of like the patriarchal kind of overly sensitive and critiquey way we tend to be with women, and particularly like genres and things that are exclusively focused towards women. I do think it was grossly unfair. But not that I think it's above critique or anything like that. I just think that I think that it tends to get a bad rap because we kind of tend to belittle and shit on any sort of like media or art that is kind of dictated towards feminine sensibilities, just generally as a society, and particularly amongst men. So it made me feel bad. Anyway, it made me feel bad. So I tend to not jump on the train when it comes to a lot of the book talk stuff. But it was some good junk food. Yeah, that's what it's there for. We all have it. We all have our junk food. So no shame at all. Yeah, the kids are asleep. Yeah, that's why I wanted to specify it's not above critique. There is it's just not exclusive to Twilight. It's maybe the weirdness is exclusive to Twilight, but it is certainly not. It's not exclusive to Twilight. It's trends and things that are deeply problematic that have existed in literature, in a lot of romantic literature. I mean, rom-coms. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot that goes on that's deeply problematic and borderline abusive, if not abusive and gross. But yeah, I do agree. There is plenty of actual critique. Hey, Mitzi. Yes, this is Princess. Princess is here to say hi to everybody before. Yes, yeah, that is probably my. I will still come down very hard on the child grooming part of it and the Mormon propaganda part of it, for sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. There's the weirder elements of that where I'm like, yeah, that's why does apparently if I bring my mouse down here, the news just pops up. Okay. The critiques are Ghostly is a woman. I will happily bash this book. It was trash, but it wasn't trying to be Hemingway. It did its job. Yeah, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in enjoying your trash. I have many things I enjoy that I fully acknowledge are trash. But yes, welcome in. If I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Mitzi, hopefully. But this is Princess. But welcome in. We're just about to start our sprints. Usually we write during our sprints, but for right now we are reading a chapter from Ghostly's book. But if you do feel like you want to get some words done during the sprint, feel free to mute the stream. I do start the timer up here that we run through while we do sprints. So if you want to keep the timer going, just to kind of keep track, feel free to. And then we'll do full writing sprints after we're done reading Ghostly's work. The Room, for example, yeah. Although The Room wasn't intentionally made to be trash, so that's kind of part of the interesting part about the humor of The Room, is that it's watching a delusional person make something they think is good. That is very not good. It's actually why sometimes when you intentionally try to make something that bad, when you try to do something very, very bad like that, it doesn't come off quite as funny. Like, if you watch anything Tommy Wiseau made after The Room, where he's, like, trying to be funny, it's not good. It's not funny. But for whatever reason, The Room, it's struck gold with that one. Or, like, Miami Connection or one of those. So, all right. Let's dive in, folks. Let's get to it. Let's get to these words. Much work to be done today. For those of you who are writing, I hope the words treat you well. I hope you get the words done, and for those that want to hang around while we read Ghostly's story, away we go. All right, happy writing, everybody. We'll see you on the other side, and away we go. Ba-boom. All right. All right, a double-edged sword. The young man thoughtlessly traced the seams of a patch on his breast. The memory of how it felt to be prodded there played ambiently in the back of his mind, making his chest tight for reasons he didn't understand, reasons he refused to humor. Were guilt. Oh, I see. It's just I didn't understand. Reasons he refused to humor were guilt. Okay, gotcha. Worn leather boots carried themselves down the dirt road. The feet within aching but still trudging forward. He hadn't stopped moving since midday, and it was long past sunset. Oh, is this our cop buddy? The crickets sang a lonely song, reminding him of his emptiness. Jeez, oh man, that's brutal. The wind ran its ghostly fingers through his hair, his spine prickling in response. The chill forced him out of his own mind for a moment. He looked up and scanned the still forest around him. Aside from the fireflies that flittered about like fallen stars, there wasn't another soul to be seen. Slowly, his piercing gaze rose to the navy blue sky that hung above, the pale cream moon dimly lighting the clear expanse of the heavens. Thea, help me, he sighed his exhaustion, a quiet yet empty plea. The ground crunched underfoot, his hand resting on his sword as he let himself fall back into his mind. I'm trying to do what's best for her in the town. Does she not see that? He spoke quietly to the sky. Though his attention remained forward. That's all I have ever wanted to do. Protect my home and the people I care about. How can I help her if she doesn't let me in? The mother of the South's simple reply was the young man tripping on a tree. That's good, Ghostly. Simple reply was the young man tripping on a tree root. He braced himself against the dirt and hit the ground rolling. He coughed as he came to a knee. His teeth clenched. From more than just the tumble. Blasted. His legs moved under him to stand, but he gave up halfway and just fell back down. Oh, that's fine. Hey, Apresoria, welcome in. Of course, no worries. Lurk away. We're just reading Ghostly's chapter. The goose is loose. still one of my, still my favorite greeting. Apresoria kills me every time. Okay. So, Ghostly. My only thing here is how late you just call him by his name and refer to him as the young man, only because we've already met him before. We've known him, and I think we've had a chapter from his... Have we had a chapter from his perspective? Did we... I think we have, haven't we? No, we haven't. Okay. No, okay, we haven't. Okay. Okay, this is the first one. Okay. The only thing I would say is I think, like, after the trip, maybe, I think it would be fine to, like, state his name, because I think calling him the young man, like, I'm pretty clear who this is. That's my only note. That's my only note so far. Is to just to say who it is a little bit earlier, maybe. But that might also just be a me thing. But I do love him tripping is fantastic. Him ranting, self-justifying, and then tripping is absolutely great. Okay, introduce bit. Yep, that's so far it. Yep. Logan Gallen sighed all the winds of the earth, his blue gaze shifting to reflect the moonlight. Why does she not understand? He spoke in a broken whisper. Why can't she see, Thea? I'm just trying to do my job, to watch over Westshire. Why does she pull away so hard? The land was still, even the wind seemed to cease. No divine response answered from the heavens, and he was left alone with his thoughts. He swallowed his hope and let his head fall back down, forcing himself to stand. She's a lost cause. Just let her go, Logan grumbled under his breath, though his own tone betrayed how much he didn't believe that. He forced his aching legs forward through the forest. The expanse of the fields broke through the trees ahead, and the shadowed shapes of a distant town atop the rolling hill peeking around trunks. He thoughtlessly looked over the hills as he edged the tree line. A movement caught his eye and stopped him dead in his tracks. His attention honed in on the silhouette of a rickety old shack that sat on its lonesome in the hills. His icy blue gaze grew as he saw a hulking silhouette lumber away from the house. This is Ghostly's I'm Just Ken. The self-monologuing is very funny. It is very funny. But it's also like self-indulgent. It's like pre I'm Just Ken. It's almost like he hasn't gotten to his I'm Knuff already. He hasn't gotten to the realization of being of being okay with just who he is. And he's got a rant about it, you know. And openly admit to himself that he really just is into it because of the horses. Let's see. His icy blue gaze grew as he saw a hulking silhouette lumber away from the house. Something pained in his chest as he spotted the much shorter silhouette the other enveloped. Oh, nice. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Hey, Rune Wolf, welcome in. I'm just ghostly, like a toasty marshmallow. Nice. Welcome in, Rune Wolf. Hope your day and the words are treating you well. He was much too far to make out any definitive features, but he knew it was her. He clenched his fist at his side, his eyes never leaving the smaller silhouette. Why is it always that autumn bough? He mumbled under his breath, his feet already moving back into the forest. Okay, nice. I like this. I like you're setting it up, Ghostly. You're setting up that he sees them leave. Pursuing. I'm also I can definitely see the Princess Bride influence too. I don't know, just the pursual through the forest. It's got the vibes. Damascus was not satisfied. Just having like it's a fantasy trope that you're hitting, I think, very well. Kind of like the you always have the one character that's kind of pursuing. It's going all right. Oh, a ghostly story. I'm loving it. Yep. We all do enjoy the ghostly story. Damascus was not satisfied with the nook by Odysseus River. They were too close to the water, with two of the other means of direction being blocked off with a boulder and a thick fallen tree, leaving only one means of land escape. It was this or lie out in the open, he reminded himself as he leaned against the tree. He was also not satisfied with how little distance they had managed to put between them and Westshire, though he figured that he couldn't be helped, or that couldn't be helped. He now had a companion with much shorter legs with him, and he was of the mind that she would not be keen to be carried. That's good. The tree he leaned back on creaked through the whistling wind. His gaze flicked from the opening of the nook to Buttercup, who was fast asleep. She had insisted on sleeping by the water, despite the chill. She hadn't vocalized why, but she didn't need to. Though it would have been warmer and arguably safer, he couldn't blame her for not wanting to sleep between a strange man and a boulder. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his head fall back against the tree. The gentle rush of streaming water and the drag of the wind through the trees filled his ears. His thumb absentmindedly rubbed the rope that hung from his wrist, brushing the fibers that felt so real, so solid. The rational side of him couldn't let go of the idea he could just slice through it, but he pushed the thought out of his mind. I wouldn't, even if I could. Not anymore. Oh, interesting. Something deep within him echoed the words with certainty. Oh. Interesting. I see. Yes, I see what's happening here, Ghostly. Yes. Yes. I don't. I'm the inner conscience, the what's happening? Do you? Tell me. It's definitely feeling like you're definitely doing like them being bonded by fate and a lot, but I mean this feels romantic. Not gonna lie, it does feel to a degree the burgeoning sense of a of he cares for this Buttercup, or there's a part of him that cares, that he doesn't want to doesn't feel comfortable fully separating himself from so far. Might not be full on, like running to propose or anything like that, but there's something happening. The crack of the twig snapped his eyes open. His pupils shrunk to pinpricks as his gaze sharpened. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, that is sweet. Okay. The promise he made to the brother. Okay. Because he did promise to take care of it for the brother. That was true. If that is what you want, if you want to imply that, you could have a little bit of like the echoes of the boy's words in his mind kind of thing. If that's if that's the intent, you might want to do something like that, where he still hears the boys, the echoes of the boys' words in his mind or something like that. It's essentially the literary version of like in a movie when you see the brief flashback. The crack of a twig snapped his eyes open. His pupils shrunk to pinpricks as his gaze sharpened in on the opening of the nook, meeting a pair icy blue eyes. Damascus's jaw tightened as the sight of the leather patch on his breast. Awesome. But he couldn't move, his dull, gnawing gaze devouring the young man with the drawn sword. The huntsman's attention pivoted from Damascus to the sleeping girl beside him, his shoulders tensing. He took a deliberate step into the mouth of the nook, his sword glinting in his fist. "Hand her over, now," he ordered, his voice dropping. Damascus's sights were even and unchanging. With a practiced grace, he pulled a sword breaker from his coat, though he still made no move to get up. "Turn around and walk away, hunter boy." The huntsman's teeth ground into one another. "Do not test me, demon," he spat, raising his sword as he took another step closer. "Give me the girl and I'll kill you quickly." Logan? A groggy but no less accusatory Logan? A groggy but no less accusatory voice silenced between them. Buttercup leaned back on one hand, her eyes still unfocused from sleep. Some of the tension in the huntsman loosened. "Hold tight, my dear. I've got you." Jesus. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. "Hold tight, my dear. I've got you." The most tone-deaf heroic statement. Amazing. Classic. I just gagged audibly. "Hold tight, my dear. I've got you." Ugh, yeah, gross. He said with the situationally oblivious certainty in his tone. Exactly. Yep, exactly. His eyes trained on Damascus as he squared his shoulders. "Excuse you?" Buttercup sat up fully, the sleep in her eyes evaporating to fire. That's amazing. "You have no idea. Just stay back, Buttercup. I'll handle it." He cut her off sternly, standing about 8 feet from Damascus, his eyes never leaving him, the tip of the sword leveled at the demon's throat. Damascus did not move, his coarsely numb gaze scrubbing into the huntsman. The sword breaker was tight in his grip, ready and waiting at his side. Logan's butt dared to step forward, but the line of his sword no longer aimed at the throat of the demon, Buttercup's chest now shielding the way. Fantastic. "Step back, Logan Gallons," she ordered, and she stood between the blade and Damascus. Her glare did not waver when her eyes locked with his. Something resembling hurt. Oh man, this is like a much less evil version of Beauty and the Beast going on here. The Gaston, getting those vibes. Something resembling hurt, but less like evil. I don't feel like Logan's Gaston level of psychopathy. Something resembling hurt creased Logan's face before he concealed it with anger. "What do you think you're doing?" he snapped, the tip of his sword dipping just slightly. Yeah, he misled. Yeah, exactly. "I'm stopping an arrogant idiot short." She spoke the words plain and cold, as though it was unequivocal fact. His jaw creaked under the pressure. His foot dared step another forward. "That is the demon Damascus, you petulant girl. Get out of the way before you get hurt." Damascus's eyes narrowed. With a few creaks and cracks, his long limbs lumbered upright. Nice. An imposing wall behind Buttercup, his dark eyes never leaving the huntsman. Very cool. I like this a lot. It's a good description, Ghostly. It's very good. Like the creaking and the cracking as he's kind of like stiffening, ready to pounce. It's a good description. Good, like, builds tension, but does it in like a textual in-world way, which is always very good. Buttercup held up a hand, not even looking back to him. "No, let me handle it," she ordered with no room for debate. I do love you positioning Buttercup to completely and utterly control everything that is going on. like completely and utterly controlling the both the confines of every conflict, but also like like as the conflict is about to like swell, it's like Buttercup is the one who actually is who's dictating every term. It's very good. It's very funny. You want to be like a monster shadow looming behind her. That's kind of the vibe that you're getting for sure. Um, Logan's gaze grew as he watched the shadow grow, a root of anxious confusion choking his confidence. "You defend him?" he breathed, subconsciously taking a step back. "It's a long story. I'm not going to explain it to you," she snipped, taking a step towards him. "If you care at all for me and my well-being, you will turn around and not utter a word of this." Logan steeled himself, an immediate obstinance overriding his hesitancy. Oh, yeah, he just can't help himself. "Do you hear yourself? Have you forgotten who that is? I will be condemned before I let the demon Damascus walk." "You have no idea what this is," she snapped, taking another step closer. "Your ego has fogged your sight so greatly you cannot see past your own nose. You are tied to a criminal, Buttercup," he shouted, further closing the distance to her. "I can see just fine. The only thing I fail to comprehend," he grabbed her wrist with the rope around it and roughly pulled it where she could see it, "is why you protect your kidnapper." He seethed the words through his teeth like a man possessed by rage. Her ears reddened, her features darkening. She yanked her wrist away from him. "He's not my kidnapper. This isn't his fault," she screamed. "If he's not your kidnapper, that means you go with him willingly." He spat the words as though they burned his tongue. His face was contorted with betrayal. His glare was one of hatred that could only wither from a seed of affection. He raised his sword back, even with her chest. "If you stand with the demon, then you stand against the people of Westshire." Damascus tensed behind her, tightening his grip on his sword breaker. His frozen glare never deviated from the huntsman. It was a look that would have no remorse if he could have restrained himself. A slow, even breath slipped from her lips. She stepped forward towards his sword until the tip of it pressed into the middle of her sternum. Nice. The flesh denting just so slightly under the threatening pressure. "Look at what you've become." Her voice was low, her eyes ablaze with a long-stoked fire. "You claim to be the guardian of the people, a protector those defenseless. Yet look where you are." Buttercup pushed forward slightly, her jaw tightening in a wince. "You've known me since we were children. We were friends. Now you treat me as though I'm a criminal in my everyday affairs." Logan's sword quaked slightly as his fist tensed. "Buttercup, you shield the most wanted man in the country. I don't want this, but—" "No," she cut him off. "This isn't about him. It's about you and your jaded sense of justice. You haven't treated me or my family fairly since you went to that cabin. You're drunk on the wine of power and prejudices of the mob, and it has ruined you." Nice. "Silence," he shouted. "This isn't about you, Autumnbow. It's about the monster you harbor behind you." His glare seemed uncertain between rage and brokenhearted, but the heat was undeniable either way. "Your sword is pointed at me, Logan Gallons. It has always been pointed at me." Great line, Ghostly. Great line. Buttercup raised her hand and gripped the sword at her chest, her fingers wrapping around the cold spine. Nice. Damascus shifted behind her, his hand twitching to pull her back. But he swallowed the impulse. Logan grit his teeth and closed his eyes. His sword pulled back and dipped from her chest. "I don't want this," he breathed tightly. "Then don't do it. It's not that simple. I have a... here we go. Here we go. Boys talking about duty. They love to talk about duty. Yeah, can't help themselves. To be good and valiant and protect people. Is this good and valiant? Is accosting me day in and out honorable? Is hunting down a man who has never actually been proven to have done any harm protecting people? Or is it just demonizing one? She stood her ground before Damascus, his shadow looming behind her. Logan's glare dulled, his rage quelled to something strange he didn't fully understand. All I want is to keep people safe. That is why I joined the cabin. Then you've missed the mark by a mile, she spat. You don't help, you herd people. You don't help, you herd people and point your badge when they ever so slightly oppose you. You want to control and dictate, you do not want to help. His brow furrowed over the lips, that thinned to a line. His eyes stung with the wool ripped off them. But this is what they told me to do. The Huntsmaster said you must protect people from themselves, that you have to keep them in line in order to keep the peace. Think for yourself, Gallons, she shouted sternly. She stepped toward him, pushing the sword aside. Does holding a young unarmed woman at sword point guard the greater good? He swallowed, the heat of his gaze fleeting. No, it doesn't. His sword scraped the dirt, as his arm gave out. Buttercup's tensity did not loosen, even as he yielded. She stayed before Damascus and pointed a finger to the mouth of the nook. If you hold onto any semblance of care about me and my well-being, go. Logan's jaw tightened, but there was no fire in the gesture. His gaze flit to Damascus, grappling to understand. After a moment, he returned his eyes to her and took a step back, accepting that he couldn't. Nice. His knuckles were white on his sheath as he capped his sword, taking one more step back. It was clear in his eyes that he was uncertain with his choice, but something in him had crumbled to the point he didn't argue anymore. He only let his eyes linger on her for a moment too long before he huffed and turned, leaving them in the nook by the river. This is a great scene, Ghostly. Fantastic. Well done. It's very well executed. It's a big moment. You've spent a lot of time building up to that moment, with her relationship with him too. So well done. And I do like this like breaking of indoctrination in him too. Or at least, like fracturing the wall that's been built up, that's starting to actually to break it down. And I kind of like that. This is our last bit of... There's something poetically apt, I think, about having the final departure from Westshire being her cracking the wall that is her childhood friend, who has become an indoctrinated sort of like symbol of the town almost, and the town's sort of prejudices and mentality, and she manages to leave, just planting the seed that is slowly that might slowly grow into like breaking down the wall with him. I don't know, it's interesting. It's a really good, like, your narrative and poetic instincts are solid, Ghostly. I would argue that they are very solid. So it's well done. It's a well constructed scene. It pays off, so it's good. So far very good. Neither Damascus or Buttercup dared utter a word for several long minutes. Eventually it was Damascus that broke the silence. They all fancy themselves gods among men, he said deeply, watching her shoulders loosen, though she didn't turn from where Logan left. He wasn't always like that, though, she nearly whispered, the disappointment thick in her voice. No one is immune to corruption. That is a lesson I've learned tenfold. He stepped beside her, putting himself between her and the bank. We should move. She nodded, still watching the dim expanse of the forest through the small alcove. I don't think I'm going to sleep anymore tonight anyway. Damascus moved in front of her, leading the way out into the cool, open night. He glanced down at her as she came to walk beside him. He couldn't help himself from asking the question that burned his tongue. Why did you not let me handle him? Her hard, exhausted gaze kept on the land before her. Because I didn't want him to have the satisfaction of being right about you. Okay, nice. Turning the blade towards him. All right. Turning the word blade towards him. Nice. The stoniness in his expression softened slightly. The harsh coldness in his eyes warmed to something inquisitive. He watched the dirt beneath him for a moment as he digested her words, but he did not question her further. They both carried on through the darkness in silence. All right, nice. Big fan, Ghostly. Big fan. That was a good scene. It was a good. I was curious to see if you were gonna have there is, you're clearly doing a yeah, the double-edged sword, if you will. Yep, you're clearly doing a commentary on particularly a masculine sense of violence and duty. I think you play that well, even though Damascus is kind of outside of that. He suffers from a similar, but he suffers from a similar problem, but also caused by different means. As mostly it seems like survival, that he is sort of, but it kind of results in the same way. A blindness to being able to try to like break through, or even communicate, with others, and just take them for what they are as a threat, and sort of get rid of them. So I think you set that up really well. I think the subtext is strong in the scene as well. So good job, Ghostly. I have no idea what I'm just writing words. There's something there. You've let a few things slip. I think you might. I think there might be some subtext in this scene. That might. I think you might have. I think you might have some experience with similar things. Is my guess. It's gonna just throw that out there that I'm guessing. There's some experiences there about indoctrination, masculinity, and a propensity to violence, and propagation of propaganda too. So it's insightful. And narratively it works really well because of the way that you constructed the scenes. You're definitely able to clue in onto like when you need a narrative moment. When you need a narrative moment to really to land, you're very good at being able to set that up and then pay it off. So I'd say that that's a good strength of yours. Otherwise, like, the usual things that, some of the phrasing can feel a little awkward. It's like editorial passes, but for what you're doing, which is just going through and getting the draft done and making sure the story works, your story's on point. I don't think I've really hit. I don't think we've really hit too many speed bumps, except for there was that one thing that was a little expository, but that couple chapters back. But other than that, your story, the pacing feels pretty good. It's moving at a good clip. So, all right, we are going to dive into the next chapter to just try to get through it, because I know this is the chapter that you really wanted to kind of get some feedback on. So, we will dive into this chapter here for the last 12 or so minutes of the sprint. Try to get as far as we can in it. Thank you. Hey, don't say that I rewrote this chapter 3 times. Okay, well done. Well done. Well done. And I still don't know if I like it. I think it's good. It's a good chapter. I mean, everything will get better with more refinement and editing. I think. I do think you'd probably want to do another pass on it before maybe like having an editor look at it. Oh no, the next one, the problem, yeah. But no, I'd say like narratively, the way you structure this is fine. I wouldn't have any major changes for double-edged sword. Oh, okay, gotcha. But this one, the problem child. Okay, so this is the problem child chapter. Got it. All right. Let's dive in. Sobriety, interesting. Soreness and trees were the only stimulation to Damascus's tired mind. His joints ached. Ached. A well-known pain that came along with walking nonstop. It was about as familiar as breathing to him at this point. He knew the feeling was mutual. With the little woman beside him. Let's see. His joints ached, a well-known pain that came along from walking nonstop. It was about as familiar as breathing to him at this point. He knew the feeling was mutual with the little woman beside him. She had started to limp a few hours previous. He couldn't help the thought from crossing his mind. Should I just carry her? He threw out the thought again as soon as it crossed his pride. She would probably prefer to collapse first. So they carried on in silence for hours. The monster of awkwardness slowly prowled closer until they couldn't outwalk it anymore. How are you holding up? Damascus swallowed the thickness from his voice's lack of use. He glanced to her gimping. He glanced to her gimping pace and the sluggishness that drug her shoulders. Just tired, she said quietly, her brow tied. You're not walking straight. He figured it wasn't going to confront. He figured if she wasn't going to confront it, then she should better. Then he should. He should. He should better. He figured if she wasn't going to confront it, then he should. I think probably just he should. Probably get rid of better. I'm fine. She didn't even look at him as he shut him down. She forced her back straighter, her lips thinning through a wince as her feet corrected their strides. Damascus sighed and shook his head. I don't have to be a creepy old witch. I don't have to be a creepy old witch to know that that was a lie, Miss Autumnbow. Autumnbow. His black hole gaze pulled at her to meet it. He noticed how she coughed in an attempt to cover her breath, hitching, her eyelids drawing back, her lazy eyes. Her surprise puzzled him. Perhaps she doesn't realize she's transparent. Buttercup. Her tone was quiet and distant. Buttercup. Her tone was quiet and distant. You can call me Buttercup. He let his gaze fall from her to the ground, a slow nod shaking his world. Buttercup, he repeated. I was thinking a rest was in order if you have no reservations. You don't have to accommodate for me. She didn't hesitate, her stride unperturbed, her sight straight ahead. Is it impossible that I wish for a break? I have a suspicion that is not your only motivator, Mr. Drake. She finally looked at him. It was only a small glance, and it was enough to slide him a knowing prod. You know, it really takes another person reading your stuff to realize, wow, I hate it. So getting it in front of you will. I have learned this after finally getting to watch my film with an audience. You'd be shocked how much you realize by someone else going through it or seeing it, what's working and what's not working. So it's sometimes that enough. But you shouldn't hate it, Ghostly. But I do. It is. I am getting a vibe that at least in terms of your prose is a little bit more clunky here, or I'm just not reading it clearly. We'll see. We'll get there. Damascus, he corrected, returning her glance. You can call me Damascus, and it's possible I have multiple motivations. May I assure you my own soreness undeniably being one of them. She didn't glance back to him. Her hand slipped up to the necklace around her neck, her nails picking at the chain thoughtlessly as her gaze fell distant. After everything, I do not wish to be more of a drag, Nice. Damascus. The rigidness in her tone softened to that of a quiet confession. He couldn't help watching her fidget with the chain around her neck. Something about the subconscious movement and what it meant to her intrigued him. Lass, I have done nothing but put my feet to the ground for 10 years now. I know how to travel. The road will never show you mercy, so you must make time to be merciful upon yourself. Oh, that's a sweet. I kind of like that. That's nice. He looked down to his large, scarred hands, reminded of the many sunrises and sunsets he'd seen across the country, and all the road in between that had torn him each stitch in pink line. Buttercup sighed, and her head tipped with relent. I suppose you are the expert here. Damascus led both of them off the path and through a blooming brush. He stepped beneath the low ceiling of branches, twigs, grasping and messing his locks. With a thick shoulder, he pushed past the thicket of overgrown berry bushes that scraped at his coat. Buttercup dodged branches and thorns behind him, keeping close to his back to take advantage of the frame that shielded her. Do you travel off path often? She found the question leaving her before she was able to reel in her curiosity. Nice. Regretfully, he grumbled, I am not well-to-do on the busier paths littered with merchants and travelers, so I find myself often blazing my own rough, unappealing path through Owentine. You have a bother with merchants? Her brow furrowed as she watched him nearly smack his head on the low-hanging branch. He paused moments before it could meet his temple, blinking. Yes, merchants. He ducked and continued on gruffly. Really anyone, for that matter. She frowned, carefully stepping over the spiky arm of the berry bush. Wait, you mean to tell me you are so sought after in more than just that you are so sought after in more than just Westshire? Damascus paused again, though there was no branch before his eyes this time. He glanced back at her over his shoulder, his impassible face showing a slight twinge of confusion. You think it is our only hometown? You think it is only our hometown and its huntsmen that hound me? He almost scoffed. Buttercup, there is not a corner of Owentine I am welcome in. The stories about me have traveled as violently as the plague, and though some places are certainly worse than others, on whole, I am a wanted man. He looked away from her and to the path before him, his tone growing more tired. Even past our borders, I am a campfire story. It's a good line. A boogeyman parents warn their children about if they don't wash behind the ears. Even past our borders, I'm a campfire story. That's a good line. It's a very good line. Her frown deepened at that as she followed, the shield she used to hide her curiosity discarded on the ground. How do you know that? Because I have had the displeasure of meeting people that aren't from here, and it was undesirable to say the very least. He huffed the words as though the memory annoyed him. She raised a skeptical eyebrow, not catching the tenderness that edged his words, and signaled her not to pry. Was it a child that didn't wash behind the ears? No. It was assassins sent to capture me. He spoke it like a cold, hard fact, though the tension that stiffened his shoulders did not go unnoticed by her. Buttercup's mouth went dry, her heart skipping. What? Her entire focus locked on the back of his head while her brain swallowed the information he shared so casually. Damascus pushed through a gap in the wall of the berry bush and out into a clearing, Buttercup at his heels. In her shock, she neglected to notice the knobby knee of a tree root that shaked at her. Her trudging boot wedged under the root while the rest of her kept moving. Oh, here we go. She's gonna trip. Damascus heard her yelp, and in an instant the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. He spun around even before a thought could pass him, of course. His hands found her sides before she could hit the ground. Yep, here we go. Her hands grasped his forearms for support, her surprised face tilting up to him. His eyes met her warm, forest brown gaze, and for a long moment neither of them said anything. Oh boy. How you say it, I'm unwell. The line? Ghostly. The line. Assassins, he repeated quietly. Anyway, that's very funny. Quit uh-huh-ing me. That's very funny. Okay. We're gonna reread this line again. His eyes met her warm forest brown gaze, and for a long moment neither of them said anything. Assassins, he repeated quietly, cutting the moment short. He shifted his attention away from her and set her properly on her own feet. I do like every time this happens, they just set her down. Like, she's a wee little lass, I guess. A wee lady, so she always gets set down on her own feet before removing his hands. The king of Evango sent assassins after me about 6 months ago. Watching her step, she backed away from him, smoothing down her dress in an attempt to compose herself. She cleared her throat. He just brushes off his hands and walks away. Yeah. She cleared her throat. Even go? She pushed her embarrassment aside and honed in on her curiosity. Yes, the eastern country. You do know there are other countries in Loomis, right? He spoke with a subtle flavor of disbelief. A twig crunched under his foot as he stooped at the nearby tree and eased himself into the bed of roots. Yes, her tone flared. I know where Evango is, but that explains nothing about why the king would want you. She stayed where she stood, watching at the tree creak under his back. Damascus didn't pay her any extra mind, his attention on the knife he pulled from his coat and stick he found. Something about working for the king as an enforcer, he shrugged. Never cared much for politics myself. She blinked at him. Hold on a moment. Her head tilted as though trying to read subtitles on him that didn't exist. You mean to say the king of Evango has sent mercenaries after you with the intention of recruiting you into his army? Let me see something really quick. Oh, it's okay, yeah, okay. Assassins. Interesting that they would send assassins to capture, but I guess that I guess it's okay. Okay. Um, Man ain't trying to catch a case. Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. That is the end of that sprint, so we're gonna pause here and start the down timer. Bam, and we will take a break really quick. For those of you who were writing, hopefully the words treated you well, and something got done. Hopefully something got done. Some progress was made. But for the story so far, Ghostly, I can see mostly multifaceted assassins. I don't know what to tell you. No, it makes sense. I had to double check and make sure that it was clear, or I was trying to like. Because at first it was assassins, that made sense, and then it was assassins to capture him, to serve the king. I just wanted to go back and make it. You did specify it was assassins sent to capture. Um, it's just strange. That might be a little strange to call them assassins. Then it is definitely good for dramatic flair at the beginning. Um, uh, you know, or he was just trying to be dramatic and sound cool, and then it turns out they were just trying to capture him, which would be kind of funny. But I it's fine. You do clarify above. All right, so I can kind of see. I see what you're doing here. I can see why maybe you're struggling, or like you're having to rewrite this a lot. The beginning's a little. It's hard. You need your down moment where they're just walking, but I don't think it's altogether terrible. It's just clunky. It's just written a little clunky. That's it. Yeah, I got you. The mission was more come willingly or die. Okay. All right. Let's see how much. Okay, yeah. So what we'll do is we will finish this on the next sprint. I think we should be able to get through it. And then kind of do a wrap up. So we'll be able to get through it, Ghostly. And then we will and then we'll switch over to actually doing sprints. Or doing the words. But it's good so far, Ghostly. I don't. I mean, I'm curious to see where the your reaction to the trip killed me. I mean, it's you're doing the trip into the arms of the brooding yet somewhat interestingly very angsty, attractive, burly character. Of course, that's gonna kill me. I see what's happening. I see what's happening there. Ghostly, look. Listen. Mm-hmm. Why like this? I was like, you're not helping your case, Ghostly. Some say the best way to lose an argument is to overstate it, but Ghostly has never claimed. No, it's nobody. No, we're back to like nobody being wholly original here. Don't sweat that too much. You are everything here is uniquely your own. You so far nothing has felt. No, so far nothing has felt. You're definitely hitting the tropes, but you're not. The genre conventions, but you're not. It's not boring or trite. You're doing it in your own way. So you're doing exactly what you should be doing. But it is great. I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. It's very hard. So it's very hard to find a way to do when you have a big emotional scene like that, or a big like. It's almost like a scene that revolves around a sort of cathartic moment, like you had in the previous chapter. Because then you always have that kind of lull where, in terms of pacing, you need to slow things down a little bit and kind of let them, reset and rebuild a little bit. Let some of the dramatic tension sort of like ease and then climb back up. It's not an easy thing to do, and try to like make it not boring or make it like kind of compelling or feel like you're not just like, keep it interesting. I think you're doing that, but it's. I would almost. I mean, they're learning more about each other in this scene, in this chapter. It's like, so the goal of the chapter is like them kind of learning more about each other, particularly him. You do a good job of kind of oscillating. We have a Buttercup chapter, which is really very heavily about Buttercup and her, the things it focusing on her and her story and the way that she feels about a certain thing and her, the conflicts in her life. And then we get a little bit more about him, but it's always from Buttercup's point of view, where it's her kind of trying to unravel the mystery of this Damascus character. But you do a pretty good job of kind of oscillating the focus of the chapter, so which is it's good instinct to be able to do that, to just kind of, so we don't feel like someone's sharing too much of the spotlight. The love child of the Princess Bride and Howl's Moving Castle. I feel like this is par for the course. Okay, yeah, I can see the Howl's Moving Castle influence for sure. I didn't realize I did that. Yeah, it's good. It's just instinct. So many things. If you write enough, I think you start to kind of just do things naturally. You start to kind of understand intuitively how stories are structured. And some people pick it up faster than others, and there's one's not better than the other. But like your instincts, so far, your narrative instincts are strong. So you are able to kind of discern how to keep it interesting, but also let the characters kind of live on their own and breathe, so it doesn't feel forced. Because that's the hardest thing, is like making your characters feel breathable and lived in, but also not making it feel like it's forced or too forced. I think I might have almost written enough. Is there ever enough? It can always get better. Hey, number 13th. Hey, what's up? Welcome in. We are just going over Ghostly story. We're gonna go ahead and start the next sprint with Ghostly reading the rest of this chapter, and then we're gonna dive into just doing the words and writing. So, but yeah, what are you working on? Hopefully, if you're drawing or you're writing, whatever you're up to, I hope it's going well. I hope it is treating you well. Of course, Ghostly, no worries. But it's something that I think people pick up with practice. You just slowly start to understand how to communicate and what's interesting about a story. You just kind of start to pick up things. Oh, nice! You did some more emotes. Very cool. You're just going to, let's take a look at them. What is this? Oh, I love that. I love the nerd one. That's fantastic. It's like a little tomato. It's fantastic. And what we got? Stinks. I do love these. And he's crying. Aw. Sage. Okay. I love. Is he crying or is he? But I do. Yeah, I think he's crying. I do love the little skunk. The little skunk one. I also just remembered that I brought my jug of tea in here because I knew I was gonna go through. I didn't want to have to go back to the fridge time and time again. Can I lament really quick? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've ranted about this on stream, but can I just talk about how sad I am that I feel like one of my favorite film franchises just seems incapable of making a good movie in the modern era, and I feel very sad about it because I feel like I'm on an iceberg once again because I did not like Alien Romulus, and it made me very sad. It just makes me sad, man. I love those movies. Even like the bad ones, even the ones that weren't good. Godzilla. Godzilla is my all-time favorite franchise. I am not going back to Godzilla -1. We don't talk about that anymore. I get in trouble when I talk about that movie now, so I'm not allowed to talk about that movie anymore. I just have to be quiet and watch my 1970s Godzilla movies and be quiet. But of like modern franchises, it's like Alien is one of those that I adore. I think the original Alien film is not only one of the greatest horror films ever made, but in my opinion, one of the greatest films ever made. And even like the bad ones, like Alien 3, the CG alien is really bad in that movie, but the kind of like prison drama is really cool. The one guy who thinks it's a god and starts like praying to it's like got some interesting stuff in there. Even Alien Resurrection, which is terrible. It had Winona Ryder, and I was in love with Winona Ryder at the time when I saw it in the theater, so it gets bonus points for that. But also, like, Aliens Underwater was really fun. They were, like, swimming around, and it was very cool. I like that. But, man, Alien Romulus, it's just, like, it's, like, nostalgia baiting all over. Like, half that movie was just scenes from other Alien movies put in this movie to be like, do you remember this scene that you liked in this Alien movie. It just made me sad. Anyway, that's my lament, my Alien lament. I just, have to get that off my chest. Ghostly, we love you, Twilight. I thank you so much. You'll have to put up with my film rant asides, but it has been wearing down my horror movie soul since I saw it. It was the best hits clip show, not a movie. That's literally what it's like. The first 30 minutes of it is the most interesting part of the movie, where it was doing its own thing, and then it 100% did that. Ghostly. It was like, here's Alien, here's Aliens, here's Alien 3, here's Alien Resurrection, and then here's Prometheus, and here's Alien Covenant at the end. And I was just like, God damn it, God damn it. All right, at least it got weird at the end. Like, it got really weird. Anytime a movie goes real weird, you get bonus points for me. But even then, it wasn't quite enough to... And they did that deep fake thing where they bring back a dead actor, and I cannot stand it. It's so... there's no reason for it. And it looks fake, and it's weird and gross, and I don't like it. I don't like using performances for actors. It feels like it undermines... At least it got weird. Yeah, Ghostly. That is actually, that might actually, yeah, something to do with that might actually should be my call out, because we all know how much I love the weirds. You get so many bonus points for me if you make it weird. At least it got weird. Maybe we'll add that to the quotes, or maybe I'll make something like that my call out. Ghostly. All right, everybody. Oh, we're going to run ads. 3 minutes of ads. I forgot to run it at the end of our break. So step away, get some tea, and then when we come back, we're going to finish this chapter that Ghostly wrote, and then we're going to dive into our writing sprints. So we'll see y'all in 3 minutes. Here we go. At least it got weird. Yeah, I'm going to... Big concern here was if it had a good through line. Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's focused on Damascus, so I'd say your through line. I mean, we'll see. I'm not done with it, obviously, but I mean, I see kind of what you mean. You're structuring. So okay, they've been walking too long. They need a break. So that's what happens. That's the immediate, like, over text goal that they need. They just need a break. But while going to do this break, we kind of get this conversation where she's very clearly trying to, like, poke to find out a little bit more about him. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, it starts off kind of, yeah, where they finally tell each other's names, what to call each other. Couldn't help but fidget. Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of becomes about him and kind of a meditation on the sort of the plight of his life, kind of like why he is the way, it kind of giving you a little bit of it's kind of expositional in a way. I call it, it's not plot exposition, it's emotional exposition. What you're doing is you're laying the groundwork for why Damascus is the way Damascus is, and kind of what his current relationship to the world is. Because it is true, we don't really, he's still mysterious. We don't really understand emotionally and practically how he relates to the world. So it is information you need to get across. And the fact that there's no, like, I guess setting up a logistic question of that there's no place he seems to be able to go where he's free of this. So the through line makes sense. It's a Damascus chapter. You are having a Damascus chapter. But we'll see how it goes at the end. And not every chapter needs to have, like, the clearest through line. It just needs, you just need the, I guess for me it always just needs to like be about a thing. It needs to have a concept and some sort of resolution, maybe not a complete resolution, but some sort of resolution on that concept. Um, or bring that line of thought to a close is kind of it. But that's my own personal philosophy about chapters. Like, I don't think chapters need to like be altogether like very rigid. I just think they need to be about a thing, and that's part of the digestible nature. A chapter is a good way to break up essentially like what a reader can take in a single sitting, or under the idea that you do finish a chapter in a single sitting. So you kind of, it's a digestible bit of the broader narrative that you can write with the intention of a person usually getting everything in that thought or that line of thinking in a single go. Is kind of the way I would think about chapters. But as once again, I'm speaking as a screenwriter and not as a person who writes prose. All right, we're gonna dive in to our next sprint. For everybody who out there who is writing or drawing or whatever, feel free to mute while we finish reading this chapter, and then we're gonna switch over to doing sprints. We'll be switching over to me being off mic once we're done with the chapter. And it'll probably happen in the middle of this sprint, I think. But for those of you, happy writing. We'll see you on the other side. And yeah, away we go. Happy writing, everybody. And let us finish this chapter. All right. Okay. Okay. She blinked at him. Hold on a moment. Her head tilted as though trying to read subtitles on him that didn't exist. You mean to say the king of Evango has sent mercenaries after you with the intention of recruiting you into his army? Damascus slid his blade down the stick, the green bark rolling off in curling strips. That's the gist of it, yes, he responded dryly. You should sit. That is the point of a rest. Buttercup shook her head of disbelief that clouded it. She found a nice patch of grass across from him that she gracefully fell to, tucking her skirt under her knees. I hope you realize how inconceivable that claim is. Inconceivable. She couldn't help the peak of a knee-jerk skepticism in her tone. Inconceivable. God damn it, Ghostly. Inconceivable, he almost laughed. Thea above, you have no idea what's out there. I could tell you stories that would turn that brown hair of yours gray. If you think that's inconceivable. Oh, that's funny. Oh my god, you're doing your own inconceivable bit. That's very funny. He could feel the sharpness of her scowl even as he never took eyes away from the wheeling of his hands. Do not patronize me, she said sternly. No, I have not traveled out of Westshire before, but that does not mean I am some dreamy-eyed pansy whom knows nothing of this world. Her hand found the circular pendant that hung from the chain around her neck, her thumb tracing over the imprint of design. Would pansy work here? Does that work? Pansy? Dreamy-eyed pansy? I don't know, because like the point is that she's ignorant, right? Like ignorant of the problem. Would pansy work there? Maybe it would. I don't know. I have to think about that. You just love that word. I mean, if you just love that word, then let it live. Let it live. It is a very Actually, it makes sense that it's a very British word. So, it's very British. Damascus caught the movement in his peripherals and glanced up. His mind puzzling the little repeated action. Of that I am well aware, he spoke quieter. I have seen enough of your interactions with the world over the past day and night to know this. It's the fact that I'm not actually British for me. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah. She bristled at the mention of the recent events, specifically the memory of the night before. Her knuckles paled around the pennant, and her eyes fell to her skirt, her other hand picking at the hem. Interaction is kind of a way to put it. Damascus lowered his head slightly at her tone, though his attention remained on the thinning stick. I am sorry. He spoke the words slowly, edging with an uncertainty as if he should say them or not. Or with an uncertainty if he should say them or not. For what? For what? She scoffed. Having to sit back and see the unpleasant raw aspects of my life? I'm sorry too. Even though her tone was light, there was no mistaking the bitterness in it. Know that you had to deal with it. There wasn't just dryness in his voice, but a deathly seriousness. I know what it's like for your whole world to be rubbed raw and scraped into a heap of what it once was. And your situation may not be to that point, but it's certainly close. I do not need the pity of a man who's been exiled and hunted. Her lips thinned after she spoke, the slight hint of instant regret souring on her tongue. He was silent. Only the scrape of sharp metal against soft wood rose through the charged air. The hand that held her skirt tightened, and there was no hiding the thoughts on her face and the indecision of what to say or what to do, or what not to do. It was several moments too long before Damascus broke the silence. It wasn't pity, Buttercup. It was empathy. Nice. It's a good line. Guilt fell in her chest like a cannonball. She released a breath along with her drawn-back shoulders. I'm sorry, she breathed. Her eyes taking in the comforting darkness behind her eyelids. But you don't need to feel for me, Damascus. He looked up from his stick. His dark eyes were a wall to the thoughts behind. I wish I could just stop. Then even clarity in his voice made her look up, her brows nodding with scrutiny. Don't you think it much easier for me to think of you as nothing more than an attachment, a leech at my side that I can just drag along without thought? But I cannot. I am not bothered by your plight, and I cannot just wipe it away. Or I am bothered by your plight, and I cannot just wipe it away. Things would be very different if I could just wipe away feeling. Her eyes opened against her will. Something about the layers of meaning in his tone, and the memory of that strange gray-black gaze held her curiosity and bridle. She found her mind was like a cave, echoing one question through the wide expanse. How can anyone think you're a demon? The words were softer from the genuine quality of her voice. Damascus's calloused hand stopped on the wood. The look on his face was impassible as ever, the stoicness behind his shadow gaze. But the whiteness of his knuckles around the hilt of his knife told a different story. He forced a breath from his teeth, his head and gaze distant. I'm afraid that's a story for another time. Preferably when I'm less than sober. Oh, okay. Sobriety. Interesting. Why does he laugh with funny? Just the pensive stares, stoic, I get what you're describing there. I get the, he's going to a dark place. I get it. It's just, these are words that elicit images in my head that make me laugh, particularly with attractive, brooding, beast-like characters. Makes me laugh a little bit. Ghostly, you're fine. Ghostly, you're fine. I'm gonna crawl a hole and die. You're fine. Her brow furrowed at that, but some sense of self-control within her held her tongue. She swallowed her probing questions and turned her attention to the thin, circular piece of metal between her fingers. She closed her hands for a moment, then realized that as she relished in the faint warmth of the pendant in her hand. What is that, exactly? His voice rose through her bliss, reminding her she didn't just disappear when she closed her eyes. Buttercup's gaze flicked up to him, and what she assumed was curiosity that thinned his lip. Her face flashed with 1,000 thoughts before she decided to enter. A necklace, she said slowly. Truly. His tone was drier than usual. What is its significance? You clutch it like a lifeline. Her teeth bit her tongue like a stomach churning at her own transparency. I'm afraid that will also be a story for another day. When you're less sober, the faintest shadow of a smile creased his lip. Funny. That's good. The raging sea inside her quelled slightly at that, tilting her head thoughtfully at his expression and not realizing she mirrored it. Preferably. Nice. It's good, Ghostly. It's a good ending. All right. It wraps up. I mean, you're doing they are learning about themselves, but they have the things about their lives that they won't cross, that they're not willing to open up about yet. but they're starting to set like conditions. They're starting to set almost like an agreement. Um, you know, further learn more about each other. I think the only thing I would say about this chapter, it's not long, so it's not overwhelming. Um, I'd say it has a pretty good through line. I think the beginning is probably the only part. The beginning just is it's not even what happens in the beginning. It just reads awkwardly. I think maybe just smoothing up some of the prose. Um, but I don't think. Let's see. When do we actually get to? Yeah, I mean, like literally, they're already headed off and talking about each other pretty quickly. Um, yeah, it's follow. No, it's yes, it's followable. Ghostly, you do not you yeah, it's very easy to follow. Um, I did not get lost at all in anything. So I don't I can see why you might be concerned about it because it's a chapter where very little actually happens. Um, are my tropes too tropey? No. They are tropes. You are strongly leaning into the genre conventions of the genre you are writing in, which is not always a bad thing. Um, but I would say, let's see here. Um, you're definitely doing it from your point of view, though. The reason is because you're doing it in a very you way, which is what you how you would want to approach genre conventions. Um, so you're kind of doing it with your own sort of flavor. I mean, unless you're active, I wouldn't change too much about falling too much into the tropes because it's not indulgent yet. I haven't. I guess that's the best way to put it. I have not felt like you've leaned into it to the point where it becomes indulgent. Because a lot of times when people write into tropes, they can tend to hyper obsess about it, and they just lean into it way too much, and it becomes like an indulgent sort of exercise in just how far you can push the trope at this point. Um, my goal is to do the tropes, but do them better than it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah, I was like, I wouldn't be subverting tropes unless that's actively something you're trying to do and say by subverting the tropes. So I would say if you're trying to do it. So what are I guess a question then would be what are your what's an example of the best version of this trope for you? So what is your favorite tortured, considerate, like the sort of like monstrous, the misunderstood monster, and the naive girl who's not as naive, or the naive sort of love interest slash naive person who joins on this journey who's not actually as naive and has like the inner willpower to. Oh, interesting. Okay, Frankenstein. Interesting, Frankenstein. Okay. See, I initially thought I was gonna be like, well, Beauty and the Beast is probably the most like iconic version of this. But there's also obviously Howl's Moving Castle. Um, I mean, a little bit of Princess Bride too. Princess Bride plays with that trope, the sort of the dread pirate Roberts. But Frankenstein. Okay, interesting. So why Frankenstein, Ghostly? Ghostly greatly dislikes Beauty and the Beast. Okay, okay, I can see that. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Disney Beauty and Beast, but there's the French Cocteau Beauty and the Beast is a great movie. I guess kind of the fable of Beauty and the Beast. Um, but what about Frankenstein? Because that's an interesting. The interesting thing about Frankenstein is Frankenstein murders the one the or I guess the Frankenstein's monster, because Frankenstein himself isn't really, that's about like his hubris in trying to like essentially control life and become God, while Frankenstein's monster is about him being misunderstood and the town trying to kill him. But he also does kill the little girl in Frankenstein. He drowns the little girl, the one person who shows him empathy. Frankenstein is to a degree a man being turned into a monster by the world, and yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, 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 yes, yes. That is true. It is about a man. It's about a creature that is to a degree chased away and ostracized by the world, and then he ends up returning in kind. So you're trying. So that's what you want to lean into then. So in that case, if that's kind of the trope, like the genre convention you're trying to lean into, um, yeah, yeah, specifically the actual novel, the Shelley novel, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting. All right. Hmm. Okay. So if that's the angle you want to go and that's what you want to lean into, if that's the, I mean, there's a part of me that thinks that then you should go harder with Damascus. Because that's kind of the. Yeah, yeah. Damascus is a man whose life has been ruined by other hasty judgments. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then I would want to. Yeah, I. There's a part of me that wonders if he has too much self control. Then there's too much. He's. Hmm. 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 I might have to think on that, Ghostly. I. That's. Because that's kind of the thing about Frankenstein. Is Frankenstein usually spends a lot of his time in very hostile worlds, in hiding, but he's also highly, or Frankenstein's monster, but he's also highly intelligent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. He's not. I'm not saying he's feral. I'm saying that it doesn't like if you've been ostracized from society, particularly that early in your life, you might not. You still might not be as well adjusted. The separation from society, um, and the solitude that that brings with it has deep psychological. Like doing that for a year has very, very, very brutal psychological impacts on people. Um, like complete removal from society can wreck an adult who does it for like 2 years. Just being that's why solitary confinement is so brutal psychologically for people and considered a torture, um, or considered an act of torture. So that's kind of the only reason why it's like, yeah, he's not feral, so he's not like the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, where he's like this feral creature who's like lashing out and attacking everything all the time. But his I think his emotional maturity should be a little bit more complicated then, or at least his emotional maturity with understanding Buttercup. Um, it touches on it later, but only witches have been the few not to fear him that he's been. Okay, okay, actually, okay. That leans into okay. That's a good reason then. That's a good reason to have him have some sort of figure that also might be feminine and also might be a little bit more that might allow him to be able to connect with Buttercup or have a little bit more emotional awareness, or self-awareness, emotional self-awareness around Buttercup if he primarily spends his time with witches, or at least his social engagements have been with witches. But yeah, I think that would be my if that's the trope you're trying to lean into, then my note for that would be that I think Damascus needs to be emotionally more complicated, and a little bit less emotionally self-aware in terms of his ability to communicate and relate that to other characters. Like he could have these thoughts and ideas, but he also might not be able to fully articulate them. Um, or he can articulate them, but he can't express them. I make it a point later, but books have kept him alive for this long, so he's read to get introspection. Okay, okay. That I would. And that's why he speaks the way he does. Okay, like books. Like, he has an antiquated way of speaking. I would set that up then. I would say, like, does he have a book he carries around with him? Like a small book or something like that? That Buttercup. Okay, does. Okay. Maybe I missed it early on, but I would have early on someone catching him reading. He was already reading it? Okay. Alright, so I just missed that. Okay. 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 I mean, then yeah, then you are thinking about it at least. So then yeah, I guess I really have no notes then. That would be if you were like leaning into the Frankenstein thing. It would be because Frankenstein's monster is definitely a very complicated character, but he's also a character who literally chokes people alive, like he like murders people. So like yeah, he's intelligent and society, but that's kind of the thing is that there is an element to Frankenstein's monster that is indeed monstrous, and so far we have seen Damascus has not been monstrous in anything that he has done. He just looks the part, which is fine because that is kind of, you're leaning into that trope. It's just I would want to see a little bit more edge there, I guess. Okay, it was in the chapter where he met her. Oh, that's right. Okay, he met the brother. I might have I might maybe add something where Buttercup calls it out, or Buttercup sees it at some point when they're traveling together, or maybe he uses it as like an emotional soothing thing. Anytime he's upset, he actually uses that as a way of like calming himself, and she picks up on that maybe. The whole thing started with him reading by a tree and then gave her an... Oh, that's right, yeah. And then he gave her the apple. We get some brutality later on. Things only to hit the fan. Okay, yeah. I figured you were gonna do that, Ghostly. You were gonna build up to that. I guess I want to see... Yeah. I just want to see more edge from Damascus. But we are, as you say, early going, so... If that's where you're going with it, then I am excited to keep reading it. So she's a slow burn, and it should be. You've set it up to be a slow burn. She's your epic, yeah. Then you should. But I think so far, the one thing I will say is like you should be very clear whether, particularly because the way that you write and some of the things you do, like her tripping and things like that. I think you should be explicit about like when he has emotions like senses of affinity for Buttercup and you do not want it to be romantic, then you should clarify where those emotions are coming from. So I think like the idea of having the little brother's words coming back to him, things like that, because you are writing a very pensive, dark character and a naive this is prime pickings for a romance, and people are going to be reading it with that in mind. So if you want to pull that away, unless you're trying to tease that, then do what you're doing. But if that is not what your intent is in writing it, if at this point you do not want that intention, you're going to want to like have those tropes be colored by something that is different in terms of their motivations. So you're gonna want to like mine a little bit more out of there. Yeah, no, that's fine. We get there eventually. That's way down the road. But that's what I mean. Is like, unless you're really trying to tease that kind of stuff, because a lot of people are gonna pick up on those tropes and be like, oh, okay, yes, the brooding man, and they're gonna read it initially as a romantic thing when in the moment emotionally it is not romantic between the characters. Like this is like these early flirtations that actually would probably set it up to be a much more emotionally compelling romance if it doesn't lean into that, because then what they're doing is they're meeting each other in these like very emotionally real moments, and there's like lightheartedness and fun there, but like the care for her doesn't start with this sort of like bashful oh, I caught her when she tripped and now we're like gazing into each other's eyes, or I'm captured by the, you can be captured by the eyes, but there needs to be like something else going on there. The emotional motivations need to be clearer. Because I think if you want to kind of keep that romance at an arm's distance initially, I think you almost have to be explicit in that, particularly with modern reading. So that'd probably be my only note at that point, because you are hitting those tropes, you are hitting those romance tropes. So I would say to make them sing in the way that you want them to sing, I would put a little bit of the pump the pump the brakes, or just be clear where the emotions come in. So okay, good. I'm glad my notes are any, if they're helpful at all, take what you want and discard the rest. But that's what I got for you, Ghostly. But I'm enjoying reading it. I love reading this story, so I am very happy to continue to read it as time goes on. But I think that is it. I think we're gonna dive into our sprints now. And actually get some words done. But thank you for letting us read it, Ghostly. I couldn't put words to my concerns, and sometimes just having people read it highlights things that you realize need to change. So, but I don't think a lot needs to change. I think it's just refining. The core stuff is all here, and it's great. It's a great little story. It is your epic, as you say. So I'm excited to keep reading it. All right. I'm going to go off mic. Just go ahead and get rid of that. I'm going to go off mic and get some words done on the back end of our sprint. And so everybody can get some work done. All right. Happy writing, everybody. And we'll see you at the break. Alright, there we go. Now we are on our break. Alright, there we go. Alright, I think the color should be okay now. Go and start the down timer. Ba-boom. Bring the music down a little bit. Alright. Hopefully everybody was able to get a little bit of words done in that short little period. Woo! Are you... the kids are asleep, yeah. I think it changes when it... Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Go say I fixed it. I'm happy I fixed it. Oh, already? Well, you did? Oh, well done. I'm easily confused. Yeah, it's very easy for me to get, like, completely confused by that. But, yeah, I would... I feel like I'm in a similar boat. Oh, yeah, the kids are asleep. I saw... Because I get, like, notifications when people, stream... I saw that it said you were playing Dredge. If you are playing Dredge, it's funny that you're doing it because that has become my go-to plane game. It's what I play on my like when I'm flying for work. It has become like my weird Zen thing to play on my Switch. So, if you are playing, I hope you're enjoying it because for whatever reason, something about fishing and just. But like weird Lovecraftian cosmic horror fishing. I don't know why, but it's become like a weird Zen game for me. Oh, that's your alt game? Oh, very cool. Oh, he's out of town recording plane sounds? I mean, that sounds fun. That's cool. Sometimes when you actually get to do like real sound design, it's actually really, really nice. So, oh, take care of Sissy, Mr. Giant. The little boy soft-spoken words haunted him. His heart felt bound by the contract he didn't sign, but wouldn't dare violate. He forced certainty in his eyes. You wouldn't dare humor, even if it would make things easier. Your bed has been made, and you lie in it. Something deep in him scolded his thoughts. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Of course, good. I'm glad that worked. That's very good. It is really oddly zen and yet jump. Yeah, right? Like, it's literally about fishing and spooky fish and, like, helping that crazy dude on his island, like, collect weird eldritch Lovecraftian monstrosities. But, yeah, I thoroughly... But it's really just you fishing and dredging up, like, old broken stuff. Oh, yeah, there's, like, abomination fish that have clearly been, like, mutated by whatever weird Lovecraftian cosmic nonsense is happening. But it's, like... really, 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 really chill. It's very hard. Although that one place, that what the island you go to, that like set of islands where everything's all foggy and those crazy like fish things, the like angler fish things are that like hunt you while you're there. That can get a little intense. But yeah, Dredge has become like a big favorite of mine, and I think they just dropped a new DLC. Oh, you haven't gotten very far? I know. Shit. Okay, sorry. There's a bunch of island chains out there that get a little wonky, but sorry. I did get wrecked by a tentacle monster with a giant maw. Yeah, it just happens to you sometimes. Like, yeah, but it's weird. It's a weirdly zen game for being like having like a horror theme, but it for whatever reason it's become my go-to plane game when I'm like cramped on a plane for 5 hours. Because I know they just dropped a new DLC, and I absolutely will be playing that DLC when I fly to Baltimore on Tuesday. So, looking forward to that. But that's cool. I'm glad that game's getting some love because I thoroughly enjoy it. It is, yes, that's a good way to put it, Ghostly. Cthulhu, but lo-fi. Yeah. Yep. I saw a bit of the DLC offend. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. I haven't played whatever the new one, the Iron whatever just dropped. I have the Arctic one, but I don't have the whatever the one that just dropped was, so I might pick it up. We'll see. But it also it's really lined up as being a good game to play because when I'm home, I'm now generally playing Shadow of the Erd Tree. So I'm like back into like fully into Elden Ring land, so it's been a good like way to just kind of relax after playing that game to just play Dredge. Okay, the Oil Tanker one. I think that's the new one. I think the Oil Tanker one is the new one. I have not seen that one, but that does look fun. Elden Ring is a lot. I love it. It's definitely just flaws and all. That's definitely my jam. But it can be it can be tiring. It can definitely be tiring. So, um, but I'm just one of those weirdos, I guess. Ghostly's heard about that about Elden Ring. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Elden Ring is oddly popular. I'm genuinely shocked it's as pop. I'm good. I'm glad. Oh, you've heard things about the oil rig game. Oh, there's another game, Ghostly. What is that game called? There's another game that's exclusively, it's done by what's the name of the studio that did the second Amnesia game? Shit. But it's one where you are trying to escape an oil rig, and that also has like Lovecrafty and spooky vibes, but you're trying to escape the oil rig. No, that's a different one, right? What is that? Hold on. I know it was actually a buddy of mine recommended it to me because they were like, "Well, this seems like a game you would play," and it absolutely is. It's one of those like cinematic first-person games. Oh God, what's it called? It's not. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts. This is gonna drive me nuts. Still Wakes the Deep is what it's called. Still Wakes the Deep. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about, Ghostly. Ghostly only knows about it because a YouTuber she likes was sponsored by them. Oh, really? Oh, really? It was sponsored by them? That's cool. Yeah, Still Wakes the Deep. Yes. So that one, yeah, it's kind of like a story. Yeah, it's developed by the Chinese Room, which is a story, kind of like a little bit more story mode. It's very specifically done by the same people that did the second Amnesia. Machine for Pigs, which a lot of people didn't like compared to the original Amnesia, but I liked it. I thought it was alright. I can see why though. It's very dictated narratively. But I'm not allowed to start Still Wakes the Deep until I finish Alan Wake 2 though. In terms of like horror games like that I have to play, I have to finish Alan Wake 2. I have to put limits on myself, or this is how I get stacks of games that I own but never finish. So the limitation I've put is before I start a new like horror game, I have to finish Alan Wake 2. Because Alan Wake 2 is very good, but it's also very involved. It's like very dense narratively, if that makes sense. And actually, the Kids Are Asleep probably knows that, because I think Kids Are Asleep was playing Control for a while, which is in that same universe. But that's cool. I didn't realize that people were getting sponsored by games still. That's the one, Yep Watcher. Okay. That's also like a smaller game, so it's cool that they're sponsoring. What, huh? I was talking to son. You're like, I was doing parent things. No, I was talking about Alan Wake 2. I'm not allowed to buy any more horror games until I finish Alan Wake 2. It's a rule that I put on myself. And that you were playing, I think, Control for a while, which is in the same universe. Because yeah. Oh, yay, husband's back! I hope the plane recording went well. It was sponsored for one of their series, and they read scary stories written by their community. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, that makes sense. It's definitely a video game that's much more like story oriented. It's not. There's not a lot of like complicated gameplay. It's very narratively focused. So that I guess that fits into would be in their wheelhouse. They are more known for their ghost stuff, though. Oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe it is a ghost game. I don't know. I had heard that it had like Lovecrafty vibes, clearly dealing with like Leviathan stuff. They are technically paranormal investigators. Ah, okay. So people write stories that it has a it has yes, the game, it has a Cthulhu. Yes. Okay. Good to know. All right, yeah. Although so far the one of the best Lovecraftian games I have played in recent memory was Signalis, which I actually need to do the second playthrough of because there's like a bunch of secrets. But that is probably one of the most like we really leaning into the existential cosmic horror side of Lovecraft, like the dark, less like tentacle monsters from the sea and more like cosmic outer beings, nightmare fuel, and existential dread about what it means to be human and the plight of like androids and like what humanity would be when you remove mortality and certain limitations on that, what it could do to the human mind. Very much that level of cosmic horror. But I definitely recommend it, particularly if you like weird android sci-fi horror stories. But it's a very good game. All right, we are going to run ads really quick. So everybody stock up on tea, and then we're going to dive into our sprints. So happy break, and we'll be back in like 3 minutes. They do a bunch of stuff. They walk around hunting ghosts. They have a blue Muppet that teaches random history segments. They eat food someday. Well, this sounds delightful. That sounds like a fun YouTube channel, Ghostly. I do love Muppets teaching random history. I mean, anything with Muppets, you get. If I could replace myself with a Muppet, I would. That's how I would do all my streams. It would just be a Muppet here. So I pretty much replace everything with a Muppet, to be honest. All right, I will be right back, and then we can get started on our sprint.
Whew, it's getting warm in here.
Oh God. All right. Oh yeah, puppet history taught me more than high school, more than high school ever did. Oh well, that's good. I guess that's a good thing, right? I don't know. I mean, I high school would have been a lot more entertaining for me if there were puppets involved. Although I feel like I squeaked in. I feel like I squeaked in right when school was like, I don't know, teachers were still able to deal with weirdos like me in productive ways. I feel like it's a lot worse nowadays. I feel like I mean, it wasn't great when I was in school, but I feel like it's gotten worse, and I feel like the kids suffer for it because I lucked out. I had really good teachers though. They were very very patient with me and understood that I was a weirdo. All right, I never finished. I'm sure of it. It's a great time. You were enough of the puppet. I know. I just me personally. I'm mostly a puppet. So, yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. Let's dive into a sprint. Let's get these words done. We've got a lot to do. We'll see. We might do a fourth sprint after this. I am not sure. We'll see. We'll see where we're at, where we stand at the end of this sprint. But in the meantime, happy writing, everybody. Hope the words get done, and we'll see you on the other side. And we're going to shift music as well. We're going to go to some moody music. But happy writing, and away we go. Alrighty, everybody, and that is the end of that sprint. And I was gonna consider going for a fourth one, but I just got very hungry, and I have not eaten today, so I think I'm gonna call stream, and I'm gonna go eat some food. But, hopefully, everybody was able to get some work done today. Get some of them words, treating you well while I eat, you animal. Yes. Sometimes I have a habit of waking up and forgetting certain necessities. No, Oprasoria, lurk away. You're busy. You're doing a lot of stuff right now. No worries, but always lovely to see you as always. But yes, I think I'm gonna go eat. Try to get some sustenance. Before I try to get this script done. Ghostly, because you were talking about the Mad Moon and all that, the script for this short film is also called The Mad Moon Also Rises, so anything about crazy moons, it's going to be good titling, so... So, apparently Mad Moons or Bad Moons on the Rise it's in the zeitgeist, in the subconscious right now, so... This one is about two people who find each other online that are kind of like hikikomori types, which are people who live inside. They have like anxiety about going outside or being in the world, so they're shut-ins essentially. And both of them are shut-ins because they and a select few other people see that a second moon is in the sky, but nobody else in the world seems to notice or care. And it's about them trying to figure out why they're the only ones who can see this moon, and they slowly go insane, and it becomes kind of like a little bit of a cosmic horror-y thing going on, because it's me. Because it's me. But I'm writing this as kind of like a thought experiment. Yeah, very much Majora's Mask vibes. Majora's Mask, few other things. Yeah, exactly. Definitely got that. And it's kind of about depression, which Majora's Mask definitely lifting heavily allegorically from Majora's Mask, which is my favorite Zelda game. So, not surprising. But yes, so I'm working on that, and this is actually a short film I'm going to try to do while I'm also trying to prep writing the feature film, which is kind of similar, that haunted house one, so that I wrote last year. I'm going to kind of incorporate some ideas that I get through there. Twilight Princess is amazing. I do love, yeah. I love that. Twilight Princess is bae, though. It's probably up there. It's in my top 3 for sure. But the haunted house script kind of leans back into what I'm establishing with the short film here. I'm definitely going to do, it might even, no, it's not public. I'm going to rewrite it. So once the rewrite is done, it'll be public. But I'm debating that one being titled In the Shadow of the Mad Moon, or also just taking the same title, The Mad Moon Also Rises, which is a play on Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises as well. Also, is it ghostly safe? I think the haunted house one will probably be ghostly safe. I think it's a horror film, but I don't think there's anything outlandishly crazy in it that will. It's definitely meant to spook you, but I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think so. We'll get there when we get there, but I don't think there's gonna be anything in it that is gonna be too much for you. There's not a ton of sexual stuff in that script, so that won't be a problem. There's relationship issues, but there's not like anything explicitly sexual, so I don't think that'll throw you. And it's much more dread and existential, so there's not like, not like anything too crazy. So I think it should be ghostly safe. We'll see. Once I'm done writing it, we'll see. Making literature references. It's just me being pretentious. That's how this goes. It's how I am. I can't help myself. Yay, my Victorian sensibilities are safe. Yeah, for the most part. I expect most scripts I'm gonna have something that's particularly spooky stuff might happen, but I don't think it shouldn't be too much. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to duck out. As I said, there won't be any streams next week. I might set up for a Saturday stream next weekend. But I will be traveling. I will be in Baltimore doing a job, so I will not be there. So no streams this week. Try catch up next Saturday, and then it should be back for normal schedule. I say that, and we never have it, but we're gonna try. So, love you all. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Of course, kids are asleep. It's always a blast having you here, Opresoria. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, and we will catch you all next time. Love you all. Thank you. Yeah, fun, quote unquote. I'm literally shooting people cooking for McCormick's. Okay, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just shooting. I'm shooting chefs cook nonsense at McCormick's. It's literally the most. It's it's not nothing crazy. But all right. Love you all. Take care. We'll see you next.